If I think of vanilla enhancing forge, my first thought goes to Quark, of course. But if you think further, the next mod that would come to my mind is Supplementaries. Not only does it fit so much the vanilla style, but it gets updated frequently. Hi guys, I'm Yorkmouse and welcome to the showcase of the latest Supplementaries version. If you do enjoy the video, then please leave a sub, only 10% of you are, thanks, bye. Wind Vane. The Wind Vane is a decoration block that will swing depending on the current weather in your Minecraft world. Depending on the weather, it will also output a redstone signal. When raining, the strength is 1, while when thundering, the strength is 2. This also applies for the block under it. Hanging Sign. The hanging sign is a decorative item that comes in all 8 wood types. It can be placed under a block or onto the side of a block. You can either write text on them by right-clicking, or you can right-click any item onto the sign to display it. This even works for maps. And signs will connect to fences or walls. If you bump into it, it will swing like in reality, which is really cool. Jar. Jars have many uses. It can store many liquids as water, honey, milk, lava, soup, potions, stews, dragon breath, or even XP. Special items are even fish and cookies. They can also now store any forge fluid. If whatever is inside the jar can be eaten or drunk, you can do just that by right-clicking one with an empty hand. I right-click small mobs, including by default small slimes and bees. Shift right-click the jar to place it down. If you use the dark version, the tinted jars, you can even capture vexes and endermites. To release the mob, you can right-click on the ground with the jar in your main hand. There are even 2 special light sources acquired with jars. The first one uses tinted jars. Walk over soul sand while wearing soul speed boots to capture a soul. The second by finding fireflies, which are passive mobs that by default spawn in plains, roof forests and swamps. You can put them in a jar by right-clicking one with it. They will only appear during the nighttime and despawn during the day. Note that you can't actually release fireflies or the soul from the jars. Faucet. When a player right-clicks the faucet to turn it on, it will keep dropping items from the inventory of a storage block up to 2 blocks behind it. If you place a faucet in front of a cauldron or waterlogged block, it will start dripping water particles, displaying a falling water effect that depends on the liquid's color. You can use it to pour liquids to and from jars, as well as interact with other fluid tanks. Since it can extract items from the side of a block, it enables a new type of automation that is not possible with normal vanilla Minecraft. Faucets can also interact with other blocks like hives to pour out honey. Spring Launcher. This extended piston can push entities twice as far, or you can use it to bounce entities. To be able to get down safely, hold spacebar. To exit it, suddenly sneak. Notice Board. The notice board is a simple block that allows you to insert a book and quill in it, and the block will display the contents of the first page of the book, or even a map. You can interact with it using hoppers, meaning you have the ability to make interesting contraptions that display a specific text or a map dynamically. Add spaces to decrease the font size. Speaker block. You can use the speaker block to send a message to all players around, either through chat or through a narrator message. You can rename it in an anvil to change its name, and if you would like to get rid of it altogether, you would have to rename it quotation marks. Wall lanterns. This feature allows you to place and connect lanterns to the side of a block, wall, or fence. Additionally, when an entity collides with the lantern, it will swing back and forth, much like the hanging sign. Another thing added by this mod. Even works with modded lanterns like skinned lanterns, link in the description. It also adds candle holders that will have more features in 1.17. Signpost. Up to 2 signposts can be placed on any fence block. They will function like a normal sign, and you can shift right-click to reverse its orientation. If you use a compass on them, they point towards where the compass directs to, so it works for spawn points and lodestones. Turntable. When a turntable is powered, it will keep rotating the block that it's facing or the entities that are standing on it. The block is similar to a piston, with a different use. For a single rotation, provide the turntable with a short pulse. Power it with a weaker redstone signal and it will decrease its rotation speed. And toggle it to reverse the direction. Planter. Planters are both a utility and decoration block. That allows you to grow crops on it without the need of water, or being able to be trampled on by entities. Plants and flowers can also be placed on them for decoration purposes. Clock block. This block reads the hour and minute within your Minecraft world, working like a vanilla clock but in form of a block. If right-clicked, it will display the time in chat. It interacts with observers and comparators, allowing you to make some cool redstone creations. Bellows. Bellows will keep refreshing fire blocks when they are up to 2 blocks away from the bellow, keeping the fire lit indefinitely unless it rains. The bellows also push entities that are up to 5 blocks from it and speed up furnaces campfires that are next to it. Pulsing speed depends on the power received. As all the effects described above will be more intense, the more power it has and the closer you are to it. Also, if you stand on the bellow, you will even activate it. Cranks. The crank is basically the more powerful version of the lever that lets you choose between 16 different power states as you turn it. Redstone Illuminator. The redstone illuminator is a simple light source that stays on by default and decreases its light depending on the power it receives. You can easily determine the light level with using a crank. Pedestal. The pedestal acts as an item display and doubles as a column when placed on top of each other. It will also display an item's custom name if it has one. Observers can detect when an item is taken from a pedestal, allowing you to make some classic Indiana Jones style traps. Remaining in theme, you can also swap an item on a pedestal using a sag, and if you do it correctly, the observer won't notice the difference. Candelabra. Candelabras are a fancy new light source. They can be placed on the floor, wall, or even in the ceiling. A proper recipe and its functionality will be expanded further upon when 1.17 comes out. As with other light sources in the mod, they can be turned off with water and lit up with fire charges, flaming arrows, and flint and steel. Sconces. Sconces act as an upgraded torch and can be lit and unlit just like campfires. Additionally, their solid iron mount prevents them from accidentally being washed away by water. There's also a lava variant of these sconces for secret base entrances. It works in reverse when not lit. Mob cage. A mob cage stores a mob inside it when you right or left click a mob with an empty cage in your hand. It can only catch small animals though, like chicken and rabbits. You can add more mobs via whitelist in the configs. To release the mob, simply right click on the ground. If you want to place the cage, you'll have to shift right click instead. Currently a ton of modded mobs have been added to the whitelist by default, such as Ice and Fire pixies or Druidcraft moths. Item shelves. Item shelves act similarly to item frames. They can be placed on chests to label them, while having more space to access your chest. You can also use them as normal one-item shelves. If you break the block behind it, though, it will break as well. The Cog block. The Cog block will act as a form of upgraded redstone. Pretty intuitive to use, you just power 1 and it will power its adjective Cog block up to 14 blocks away, just like with the redstone dust. The real use for this is to be able to make compact vertical redstone signaling. Globe. The globe is only obtained by buying it from a wandering trader. The globe's appearance is randomly generated and unique to every world seed. If you click on it or give it a redstone pulse, it will spin and display your current coordinates. Hourglass. You can fill it with any kind of sand, dust or powder and it will work like a real hourglass. You can use a comparator to get a signal that depends on the elapsed time. To reset it, you can right click, shift click, use hoppers or dispensers, or you can rotate it using a turntable on its side. Also note that the time it takes to deplete depends on the type of dust. For example, sugar will be the fastest and redstone dust the slowest. Sec. Basically an early game shulker box, works just like one, only that it has reduced slots and you can only carry a maximum of 2. If one were to try to carry 3 or more, he will be slowed by the weight. The effect of course depends on how many sacks one is carrying. Sacks can and will react to gravity just like sand. To keep one from falling, you'll have to place a supporting block under or above it. If it does end up falling, be sure to not stay under it as it will damage you. Safe. Safes act like an upgraded shulker box that is immune to fire. They have 2 modes, simple mode and key mode. By default they are set to key mode and you can change it via the config. Key mode. Safes will be unbound once placed. If you click on one with a named key, the safe will be bound to that key name and will only be able to be opened when a player has a key with the same name in his inventory. To unbind a key, simply shift click with it on its safe. You can have your key in a curious slot if you have that mod installed. Simple mode. Saves will be bound to the first player that places it, opens an unbound one. Other players won't be able to open a save they don't own, but they will still be able to break it, unless you disable that in configs too. Also, if you were to pick up a save you don't own, you won't be able to see its content in the tooltip. To clear the ownership of a save, place it down and right-click with a tripwire hook or any key. Copper lanterns. Can be crafted with copper ingots or iron if you have no mod, and that adds them. They act just like normal lanterns. They will also have a slide animation when hanged from the ceiling, and additionally can be turned off and on with an empty hand and a flint of steel. Flute. An item craftable with bamboo that will let you summon all non-sitting pets that are around you. One can also right or left click a pet with a flute to bind the item to said pet. A bound flute will then summon that one pet, this time regardless if it's sitting or not. Note that it will still have to be within 64 blocks of the player. To balance it out, the item has a very low durability. Bell tweaks. Bells will now visually connect to chains. Blackboard. When activated, the block is basically MS Paint in Minecraft. In other words, you'll be able to draw on it in black and white, so you can finally be creative in Minecraft. It will keep what's drawn once it's broken. You can also craft them with a water bucket to clear them. Throwable bricks. This mod even makes it that you can throw bricks at your foes. They work pretty much like snowballs, except they are heavier, slower, and deal 1 heart of damage. Be careful when you throw them though. Doormat. Cats love to sit on it from time to time. You can also hide one item under the carpet by clicking on its side. Cake tweaks. Cakes can now be stacked on top of each other to make a wedding cake. Hanging flower pots. You can now place flower pots on the underside of a block and they will visually appear to be attached to the said block. They work just like normal pots. Bamboo spikes. A very useful block to build mob farms. It will damage entities that are standing and will deal more damage if it's pointing upwards and the entity is falling through it. Entities will also be slowed by it. If the block is pointing upwards, you can negate its damage by shifting. With any lingering potion, either via crafting or by right-clicking with the said item, and it will convert into a tipped bamboo spike. Netherite doors and trapdoors. Netherite doors and trapdoors will function like the safe block, meaning that they will be able to be assigned a key and will only open if a player has it in its inventory. Additionally, lock blocks have been added. It has the same functionality as a netherite door, except it gives us a redstone signal when unlocked. Pancakes. A food item that can be placed down and stacked up to 8 times. If you put honey on top of them, they will give you a small speed boost effect once you eat them. Flax. A new rare crop that can be found in pillager outposts and sold by the wandering trader. You can grow it like any other normal crop, and it will allow you to craft sacks and ropes. Ropes. They can only be attached from the bottom of a block or the side of another rope, but only if they are at least 6 blocks from the closest supported rope. You can even walk on them. You can fall straight through ropes at maximum falling speed without taking damage. You can just pull up a rope by clicking with another one or pulling it down by clicking with an empty hand. If they pull up or down a cauldron, they will actually lift it up. Ropes can be instantly broken by hand fire or by an arrow. Finally, like chains, they can connect to bells and offer the same functionality that the chains do. If you combine arrows with ropes and shoot them, they will try to deploy a rope where they land. You can pick them back up to refill them with up to 16 arrows.